Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 12, Birth of Emperor Parikshit, text number 4. Suta Uvacha Apipalat Dharmarajaha Apipalat Dharmarajaha Pitravat Ranjayan Prajaha Pitravad Ranjayan Prajaha Nispriyaha Sarva Kamebhyaha Nispriyaha Sarva Kamebhyaha Krishna Pada Anusevaya Krishna Pada Anusevaya Suta Uvacha Apipalad Dharmarajaha Pitravad Ranjayan Prajaha Nispriha Sarva Kamebhyaha Krishna Pada Anusevaya Suta Uvacha Apipalad Dharmarajaha Pitravad Ranjayan Prajaha Nispriha Sarva Kamebhyaha Krishna Pada Anusevaya Suta Uvacha Apipalad Dharmarajaha Pitravad Ranjayan Prajaha Nispriha Sarva Kamebhyaha Krishna Pada Anusevaya Suta Uvacha Apipalad Dharmarajaha Pitravad Ranjayan Prajaha Nispruha Sarva Kamebhyaha Krishna Pada Anusevaya Suta Uvacha Apipalad Dharmarajaha Pitravad Ranjayan Nispriha Sarva Kamebhyaha Krishna Pada Anusevaya Suta Uvacha Apipalad Dharmarajaha Pitravad Ranjayan Prajaha Nispriha Sarva Kamebhyaha Krishna Pada Anusevaya Suta Uvacha Sri Suta Goswami said, Apipalat administered prosperity. Dharmarajaha King Yudhishthira. Pitravat exactly like his father. Ranjayan pleasing. Prajaha all those who took birth. Nispriyaha without personal ambition. Sarva all. Kamebhyaha from sense gratification. Krishna Pada the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, Anusevaya, by dint of rendering continuous service. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Suta Goswami said, Emperor Yudhishthira administered generously to everyone during his reign. He was exactly like a father. He had no personal ambition and was freed from all sorts of sense gratification because of his continuous service unto the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna. Translation with repetition. Sri Suta Goswami said, Emperor Yudhishthira administered generously to everyone during his reign. He was exactly like a father. He had no personal ambition and was freed from all sorts of sense gratification because of his continuous service unto the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. As mentioned in our introduction, there is a need for the science of Krishna in human society for all the suffering humanity of the world, and we simply request the leading personalities of all nations to take to the science of Krishna for their own good, for the good of society and for the good of all the people of the world. So it is confirmed herein by the example of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the personality of goodness. In India, the people hanker after Ramarajya because the personality of Godhead was the ideal king, and all other kings or emperors in India control the destiny of the world for the prosperity of every living being who took birth on the earth. Herein the word praja is significant. The etymological import of the word is that which is born. On the earth, there are many species of life, from the aquatics up to the perfect human beings, and all are known as prajas. Lord Brahma, the creator of this particular universe, is known as Prajapati because he is the grandfather of all who have taken birth. Thus, praja is used in a broader sense than it is now used. The king represents all living beings, the aquatics, plants, trees, reptiles, birds, animals, and man. Every one of them is a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And the king, being the representative of the Supreme Lord, is duty bound to give proper protection to every one of them. This is not the case with the presidents and dictators of the demoralized system of administration, where the lower animals are given no protection, while the higher animals were given so-called protection. But this is a great science which can be learned only by one who knows the science of Krishna. By knowing the science of Krishna, one can become the most perfect man in the world. And unless one has knowledge in this science, all qualifications and doctorate diplomas acquired by academic education are spoiled and useless. Maharaj Yudhishthira knew the science of Krishna very well, for it is stated here that by continuous cultivation of this science, or by continuous devotional service to Lord Krishna, he acquired the qualification of administering the state. The father is sometimes seemingly cruel to the son, but that does not mean that the father has lost the qualification to be a father. A father is always a father because he always has the good of his son at heart. A father wants every one of his sons to become a better man than himself. Therefore, a king like Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was a personality of goodness, wanted everyone under his administration, especially human beings who have better developed consciousness, to become devotees of Lord Krishna, so that everyone can become free from the trifles of material existence. His motto of administration was all good for the citizens, for as personified goodness, he knew perfectly well what is actually good for them. He conducted the administration on that principle, and not on the Rakshasi, demoniac principle of sense gratification. As an ideal king, he had no personal ambition, and there was no place for sense gratification. because all his senses at all times were engaged in the loving service of the Supreme Lord, which includes the partial service to the living beings, who form the parts and parcels of the complete whole. Those who are busy rendering service to the parts and parcels, leaving aside the whole, only spoil time and energy, as one does when watering the leaves of a tree without watering the root. If water is poured on the root, the leaves are enlivened perfectly and automatically. But if water is poured on the leaves only, the whole energy is spoiled. Maharaj Yudhishthira, therefore, was constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. And thus the parts and parcels of the Lord, the living beings under his careful administration, were perfectly attended with all comforts in this life and all progress in the next. That is the way of perfect management of state administration. Thus, NC Transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanathimidandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, in this chapter, the birth of Emperor Parikshit, we can see here that the Shaunaka Rishi is asking questions about the life and activities, birth and activities of Maharaj Parikshit. And the sages were especially eager to hear about Parikshit, to whom Sukadeva Goswami imparted spiritual knowledge. And furthermore, now Suta Goswami is responding to the questions asked by Shaunaka Rishi on behalf of the sages. And here Suta Goswami is saying, Suta Uvacha Api Palad Dharmarajaha. So first he is not describing directly about Parikshit Maharaj, but he is talking about Dharmarajaha, that is Yudhishthira. And he is talking about Yudhishthira as how he administered the kingdom. So there is good description, especially by Prabhupada the purport, to elaborate how did Maharaj Yudhishthira rule his kingdom. The first thing that is being said is that Pitravat, like a father. So like a father, Yudhishthira Maharaj was ruling over whom? Prajaha. Prajaha, usually in today's understanding, Praja means people. But Prabhupada is clarifying that both in the word-to-word meaning and also in the purport, that the word Prajaha means those who are born in that particular country or that state. So that means Prabhupada is explaining that it was used in a broader sense. The meaning of the word Praja was meant in a broader sense. That means it included all the living entities in that kingdom. That includes not only human beings who are developed in consciousness, but also animals, insects, reptiles, aquatics, trees, and all other forms of living entities. Now this is a very important principle because this broader definition of Praja is very important. Otherwise, Prabhupada is comparing what happens if that broader definition of Praja does not exist, as in today's world. When the broader definition of the word Praja does not exist, then people do not mind killing animals. They think Praja means I should only care for people, human beings. They give me oats, so I take care of them. As far as animals are considered, they are not equal. They can be sent to slaughterhouses, they can be killed, they can be mistreated. There is no care for animals, even at the cost of construction, development. We can kill animals, we can take away trees. But that is not the science of Krishna consciousness. That is not the science of Bhagavad Gita. According to Bhagavad Gita, every living entity is a spirit soul. Be it a dog, a tree, an insect, or a learned brahmana. Sarvayonishu kaunteya. So, Lord Krishna says that I am the father, aham bija pradapataha. I'm the seed-giving father of Sarvayonishu, of all the living entities. So, here science of Krishna, Prabhupada is again and again using this word, in this purport, that Yudhishthira Maharaj knew the science of Krishna. Now, one who knows the science of Krishna, first of all understands that every living entity is a spirit soul. And therefore, one does not trouble or kill any living entity for one's own sense gratification. 2, and most importantly, everything is seen in relation to Krishna. And therefore, everyone is given due respect. Not that there is undue respect. So, here, Maharaj Yudhishthira is treating all the living entities with due respect and equality in the sense that they deserve. And he is treating all the living entities in his kingdom like a father, Pitravat. Now, what is the quality of a father? If a father has 10 sons or daughters, he treats all of them equally. He wants to make them happy, make them progress equally. He doesn't see, usually our grandmothers, they used to say, sometimes there are 2 children in the family, and the grandmother would say, you both are like my eyes. You see? I want to treat both of you equally. So that is the idea. An ideal father means he wants the well-being of every child equally. And Prabhupada mentions the father wants every one of his sons to become a better man than himself. Not only that, the father wants the child to progress, but wants them to be better than oneself. The heart of the father is not, how do I utilize my children to make more and more wealth? How do I utilize my children to grow myself? No. The father is thinking, how can I make these children so progressive that they do better than me? So, Pitravat, so like a father. And Prabhupada is also saying that sometimes father may also look cruel. In other places also Prabhupada says, but that is with an intent, with a greater intent, to sometimes reform the child. Sometimes we misunderstand, mother might shout at a child, a father might shout at a child. We may take that as a common shouting. No. If the father and mother are ideal, they're actually trying to correct or save the child from a danger. So we have to see everything in its proper relationship. If we do not see things in the proper relationship, then we misunderstand. Oh, one is, punishing the other child. It may look sometimes when the intent is inappropriate and the means are inappropriate, yes, it can become harsh punishment. But when there is a necessity for correction, there is a place for father to act, sometimes so-called apparently cruel, but at the heart, he wants the well-being of the child. So this is very important. Sometimes we all also can be corrected, and Prabhupada also used to chastise and correct his disciples. Sometimes devotees would find it very hard. Prabhupada can become sometimes as strong as a thunderbolt, and sometimes as soft as a rose. So Prabhupada would often later on devotees would ask or try to understand, and Prabhupada would explain that chastisement is out of love, like a father. So we should not misunderstand. Sometimes Prabhupada may say someone a rascal or something. But you have to see the deeper purport behind that as a loving father, he wants to save the child or his disciple from not ending up in a greater difficulty. So, Maharaj Yudhishthira, he ruled over all the living entities in his kingdom like a father, without discrimination. Like, I was somewhere yesterday, and they had a law, no discrimination. And they had no discrimination for all people. No age, no caste, no creed, no nationality, no gender, so on and so forth, no discrimination. But we don't have the same idea for animals. We have discrimination. Animals, not important. You hit an animal on the road, you leave it aside, no problem. But if you hit a person, ambulance, 911, this, that, everything will come. But if you hit an animal, leave it. You see? But that's not the case in case of Maharaj Yudhishthira. All the living entities were treated like how a father treats the children. Furthermore, description is given about how he ruled over the kingdom. And next few words are very, very important. And nispriha sarvakamebhyaha. The word nispriha, Prabhupada translates as without personal ambition. This is a very important principle. Those who want to rule, who want to take leadership role, this is a very important principle, that is no personal ambition. And it can be very surprising. How can there be no ambition? If I'm the administrator of the state, of this country, how can I not have an ambition? And then, furthermore, sarvakamebhyaha, basically freed from all sorts of sense gratification. It is very difficult to acquire these two qualities. Free from personal ambition, free from sense gratification. But Maharaj Yudhishthira was a Rajarshi, was not an ordinary king, he was a saintly king. And he possessed all the good qualities. The saintly kings, they were not ordinary men. They possessed the qualities of the sages. At the same time, they could administer like great kings. How is that possible? That is mentioned in the last line of this verse, Krishna Padanu Sevaya. Because he was continuously engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet. As it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvai gunais tatra samasate suraha harer abhaktasya kutho mahat gunat manorathena asti dhavato bahi. So, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana. So, akinchana bhakti refers to devotion without motive. Prabhupada translates the word akinchana in that verse as without any motive. If one renders devotional service without any motive unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvai gunais tatra samasate suraha, then one will obtain all the good qualities that are present in the demigods. All the good qualities. As we can see, a Vaishnava has 26 good qualities. If one becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, unalloyed devotee of the Lord, one who renders service without motivation, will naturally acquire these 26 qualities. Otherwise, haro abhaktasya kuto mahat guna. If one is not a devotee, he cannot have good qualities. Why? Because manorathena asti dhavato bahi. He is hovering on the mental platform. One who is hovering on a mental platform cannot understand things as they are. And therefore, he will always speculate. Oh, why this happened? Why this person did this to that person? So many things. We are speculating. We are extrapolating. We are interpreting in the way we want to interpret the things because of mental conditioning. We interpret everything in the world according to my perspective, in my own mental way, in my own world, without actually seeing what is happening. What is the role of the Lord? Why is something happening? One becomes bewildered. And does activities which are like a madman, cannot do anything which is good. Therefore, it is important that one needs to be a devotee to have good qualities. And here, Maharaj Yudhishthira is said to be Nispriha and Sarvakamebhyaha because he was continuously serving the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is a very important principle, that without being a good devotee, we cannot become a good administrator, a good leader, or engage in service in a way we can inspire others. The first and foremost is to become a good devotee. So Prabhupada in the purport is explaining various important points. And firstly, Prabhupada begins that there is a need for the science of Krishna in human society for all the suffering humanity of the world, and we simply request the leading personalities of all nations to take to the science of Krishna for their own good, for the good of society, and for the good of all the people of the world. So, science of Krishna is an absolute necessity. As we just spoke, that only a devotee of the Lord can have good qualities. Similarly, a state, a society can also be good only where there is science of Krishna is present. You can see this even in a small family. If the science of Krishna is not present, only one person is Krishna consciousness, there can be so much trouble. Although that person can reduce the trouble by so much degree, but still the trouble exists. Similarly, if in the society there is no signs of Krishna, there will be always something missing, and that missing will lead to quarrel, unwanted so-called development in wrong direction, and that's why Prabhupada called misdirected civilization. The world is trying to come to a place of peace and prosperity, and people are thinking, oh, we will establish United Nations. We will have this law, we will have that law, we will have police with cameras, and then we will solve crime. No, it is not possible. Because the science of Krishna, when it is not present, one cannot artificially prevent the imbalances in the society. If one wants to solve the real problems at an individual, at a societal, at a national and international level, the most important way to resolve all this is to teach science of Krishna. Without science of Krishna, there is no possibility of peace and prosperity in this world. So Prabhupada is saying that he further goes on to give that the example of Ramarajya, or the kingdom ruled by Lord Rama, and he explains that he is an ideal king. Not only Lord Rama was an ideal king, and all those who followed in his footsteps were also ideal kings or emperors. Why? Prabhupada says, because they control the destiny of the world for the prosperity of every living being who took birth on the earth. That means their goal is focus is on the well-being of the people. Well-being of everyone who took birth in that kingdom or on earth. Unlike in modern democracy, the focus of progress or development is how do I make more money? How do I save money so that the next term, even if I don't get, I'm safeguarded for my next 3 generations, 4 generations? How can I glorify or protect my party somewhere or other, can I come back to the power next time? Can I bring my party to the power next time? Because of this lack of focus. Focus is personal oriented, either individualistic or slightly broader. Actually, all these principles, as we are talking about the kingdom, also applies to the way we deal as a society of Krishna conscious devotees. Because Krishna conscious society is also small, a smaller concept of the broader concept of the ruling of a state. So it is important that as we engage in services, we have to also evaluate what is the purpose of the service and how is one supposed to render service. And so, as we all see that that's why the intent of the service is so important, because if the intent is flawed, that means the foundation is flawed. If the intent of the service is to please oneself, or is to get something for oneself, that's why Prabhupada is using the word nispriha, no personal ambition. Not that one has to get something, even before that there is an ambition. So what is that our ambition when we do service? Is so important. And especially when we become leaders in Krishna conscious society, it is even more important as what is our ambition. If the ambition is the well-being, in this case the well-being of the people in general, or the people or the living entities in the kingdom, in case of devotees, we have to see, am I here to please Guru and Gauranga? Am I here to encourage other devotees to make further progress in Krishna consciousness? Or am I finding ways and means to climb the ladder like in a corporate world at any cost? Am I trying to accumulate something for my personal gain? Am I using the power to advance a subtle motivation of my interest, a small personal ambition? I want to become head of this department. For that, I will do something or other so that I'll climb up. So Prabhupada has specifically warned about this personal ambition in his various letters, even in the example of Dhruva Maharaj, when he was about to kill all the yakshas, Prabhupada mentions in the purport in various places that there was a subtle personal ambition which was present. And Brahma comes to remove that personal ambition. So, in various places, Prabhupada, especially in his letter, during various instances, he uses this term personal ambition. And maybe I'll just quote one or two places. Especially, he saw that there were various discrepancies which would come about in the Krishna conscious society at various points of time. And in many places, he attributed for this cause of personal ambition. I'll just share a few of them. This is in regard to the complaints that he receives about Balimardhan and his wife, and in that situation they declare, I think the wife of Balimardhan, she declares that Balimardhan is an incarnation of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and like Srila Prabhupada has said that he is the incarnation of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So, and similarly, in some places people were collecting Lakshmi donation and they were not using it properly. So there were various complaints that he was receiving, and he writes one letter to Karandara. And in that, Prabhupada says, I wanted you all, my experienced disciple, should manage a whole institution very cleverly without any personal ambition like ordinary materialistic man. So an ordinary materialistic man is defined by the characteristic of a personal ambition. That means, to the degree we are eager to fulfill our interests, we are materialistic to that degree. Now, what is the opposite of that? How does a devotee function? If he has no ambition, how will he function? What is the motivation? His ambition is a superior order. He has no personal ambition. Srila Prabhupada in often places says that we have come to spread this Krishna conscious movement on the superior order of my spiritual master. So this is the transformation. To the degree we transform our personal ambition with the ambition of our superior, there is a transformation. Everyone is having an ambition. What do you want to become? I want to become a pilot. I want to become a pilot. My ambition, my ambition. Everyone is fueling. Somewhere or other, learn the art to acquire or fulfill your ambition. That is the whole civilization. The more you succeed in fulfilling a personal ambition, the more you are considered a great person. But in the spiritual world, in the spiritual advancement, the more one is advancing the cause of the spiritual master, the superior order, he is advanced. But it doesn't look very nice to fulfill the orders of the superiors. But actually, we should see from the life of Srila Prabhupada. You see, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj wanted his disciples to go to the Western countries and preach. He also sent his disciple to London, Germany, and one of them started to dress like Swami Vivekananda. You see? So we also, when given a service, we have to understand what is a superior order. There is a superior order of what is to be done and how it is to be done. Not just what is to be done. Yes, there is a need to preach, but not acting like a Mayavadi. Not to attract people in the way which is not appropriate. On the other hand, if you look at the life of Srila Prabhupada, he comes alone, he is in the hippie land. He is not compromising on any principles, be it his dressing, be he speaking about Krishna, everything as told by spiritual master. And it is very important as how Prabhupada in a couple of places he mentions that my Guru Maharaj wanted me to write books, and all that I was trying to do was write books. I never thought I would build so many temples, but they all came naturally. Now, why did that happen? That happened because of the faith in the words of the spiritual master that he has asked me to write and publish books. That is the order. And I am without any other ambition, without any motive. I'm just simply going to follow that. What will happen to the money? Where will I get money from? Oh, how will I build a temple? Oh, so I should pay attention here. No. What is the order? Order is to write and publish. So Prabhupada carried that as a primary order throughout his life. Not to worry about other things. Because the spiritual world, spiritual life means when there is a superior order, there is superior empowerment, and everything that is necessary to come along with will come. So, as soon as the personal ambition vanishes, we see a certain spiritual mercy to flow. In that moments, in that consciousness, one can see miracles to happen. Similarly, one wonders, how did Srila Prabhupada's disciple achieve so much? And one can also ask, how did Srila Prabhupada's disciples, or maybe some of them, led to the fall down of ISKCON in some ways, in some contexts? Both the places, either it is my ambition, personal ambition, or is it the ambition of Srila Prabhupada? Wherever they try to fulfill the desire of Srila Prabhupada, they excelled like anything. And wherever they aim to fulfill a personal ambition, they failed. So Prabhupada is saying that this institution should be governed very cleverly and without personal ambition. Both are important. Not that one remains dull, that there is no ambition, so I remain dull. No. It requires intelligence, it requires cleverness, but without any personal ambition. And Prabhupada is giving an important example of what happens when there is personal ambition. And he quotes the example of Gaudiya Math. The Gaudiya Math institution has become smashed, at least stopped its program of preaching work on account of personal ambitions. So whatever is done. I shall request you all not to become personally ambitious. So one of the things that will stop, Prabhupada is mentioning here, that has happened in Gaudiya Math is preaching activities when there is personal ambition. When there are too many factions fighting, oh, this room is mine, that is mine, this is my guru, that is your guru, this, that. You see, we can see that. Wherever there is personal ambition, we will see the preaching is not happening properly. No one is trying to find a solution of how to preach. One is thinking, oh, maybe I should twist and turn the message of Krishna consciousness in many, many ways to preach. No. One has to give up personal ambition. Externally, we can change certain things, but more important is to change inside. And if there is a personal ambition inside, whatever changes one may do to please people, one cannot please people. Because without Krishna Shakti, vina nahi tara pravartana. One cannot change people without Krishna empowering one to spread this Krishna consciousness. And whom does Krishna give that strength? Or Srila Prabhupada, whom does he give the strength? To those who are sincere, at the same time, who are not carrying this personal ambition. In Prabhupada, in another purport, he mentions about his god brothers. In 5th canto, he says there that, some of my god brothers wanted the property of my spiritual master. And my spiritual master, being very kind upon them, he gave them the property. But he gave me the power to preach. The power to preach is not given to those who have a personal ambition. Therefore, sometimes we see, devotees, they try to change so many things, but what is more important to change? Do I have a personal ambition? As soon as there is a personal ambition, the preaching becomes slowed down. As soon as personal ambition is taken out, things will fall in place. You see, this is the broader ISKCON society has to actually contemplate on this principle of fulfilling personal ambition. And actually, it's very important. Prabhupada, in the translation, he's saying Yudhishthira Maharaj had no personal ambition and was freed from all sorts of sense gratification. So Prabhupada is qualifying these terms, no personal ambition. Say, personal ambition can be gross and subtle. All sorts of sense gratification, not just a broad, gross sense gratification, but all sorts of sense gratification, which can be finer sense gratification. So these are very important, and it's very important. Prabhupada is saying something very important about personal ambition. Now one may see, oh, okay, if I do only what Prabhupada wants, if I do only what my superior wants, where is my place? What about my desire? What about my ambition? Prabhupada is clarifying that in a very nice way. He's saying, I shall do everything in my power to fulfill your personal ambitions. Actually, spiritual master is very merciful. But he's giving a condition. There is a condition to that. But that will be done in due course of time when you are fully trained up and following the regulatory principles and chanting 16 rounds. Sometimes there's eagerness to fulfill a certain ambition. We will think it is for Prabhupada. Prabhupada, I want to do this for you. Prabhupada, I want to do that for you. But there might be a certain personal motivation also somewhere that I should do it, I should do it, I should do it. So one of the aspects of personal ambition is that I should be the point of focus, not that this should happen nicely. I should be part of it to become nice. That is the problem. Anyone who becomes more important in the activity, the preaching becomes slowed down. And Prabhupada is saying he will do all in his power. I shall do everything in my power to fulfill your personal ambitions. But three things. In due course of time, when three things are done, when you are fully trained up. See, we do not want to be trained up, but we want the mercy. We want to become a representative of Prabhupada without being trained up. We dislike training. We dislike to become a follower. Who can become teacher in Krishna consciousness? Only those who are followers can become teachers in Krishna consciousness. Who can become preachers? Only those who follow the preachings can become the preacher. But if we artificially try with some ambition, with some abilities, we may have certain karmic abilities. We may think, oh, only this is enough to fulfill the ambition or acquire the thing, like in the material world, if you have some skills. Everyone are after skills. But in Krishna consciousness, more important than skill is the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So that factor is forgotten, because without the sanction of the Lord, the fifth factor, Daiva, nothing can become successful. One may try, endeavor, this and that, but how to get that sanction of the Daiva? How to get the mercy of Daiva? One has to learn the art from the spiritual master. And for that, this personal ambition is very dangerous. So three things: fully trained up, chant 16 rounds, and follow regulatory principles. So if one is following these things, Prabhupada is saying that he shall do everything in his power to fulfill your personal ambitions. Then Prabhupada also expressed his concern in various places about what can go wrong with the institution. And in one of the letters, these are all during the similar period of time of 1974, Prabhupada is writing that I pray to Krishna that you all may use your intelligence for Krishna's service and not for any personal ambition. You see? We can have intelligence. The intelligence can be used in any direction. We can have some power. Just like Ravana also had some power. He has also utilized his power. We also have intelligence. We also have power. We can utilize properly in the service of Guru and Krishna, or to trick and try to achieve our personal ambition. In both places it is intelligence and power. But in one place it's a misuse, and in another place the proper use. So we have worked very hard and established a great institution. But if we think for our personal benefit, then it will become ruined. This is my only concern. Prabhupada is saying how things can become ruined. See, everything is so nice. See, Krishna conscious philosophy is the highest. Krishna conscious prasadam, Krishna prasadam is the tastiest. The Krishna conscious activities of singing and dancing is the most blissful. The philosophy is the highest. The association is the best. Then why there is a problem? One should introspect, one should really analyze why there is a problem. There's a problem, Prabhupada is saying, if we think for our personal benefit, then we'll become ruined. And that is my concern. So this is very important. In fact, Prabhupada quite and often demonstrated in his life through his various activities how he was not after personal ambition. Actually, this is one thing that distinguishes Prabhupada from many other so-called gurus and things. Prabhupada was not trying to achieve a new goal. He was trying to fulfill the goal of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. That is, to write books and spread Krishna consciousness in the English language without thinking, oh, what will happen? Oh, if we do like this, if we distribute books, who is going to buy? Just imagine, Prabhupada was trying for so many years, trying to distribute Back to Godhead magazine, trying to write books in Delhi and trying to go to libraries, trying to meet presidents, vice presidents, writing emails, letters to all of them and asking, please take a copy of book, keep in your library, going to different places personally. Prabhupada goes all the way personally, perhaps to Gorakhpur, to get donations to print the books. So much of difficulty. He had very limited money, but he goes all the way to Gorakhpur to meet the donor who will sponsor the printing of the books. So much difficulty. One can think, oh, why should I take so much difficulty? But to fulfill the order of the superiors, the spiritual master. So if we replace our personal ambition with the ambition or the desire of the spiritual master, everything becomes so smooth. It may take time. That's why Prabhupada says, in due course of time, when you're fully trained up. We are all looking for immediate success without being trained up. That's the whole problem. We want to fulfill a desire without being trained up, without waiting for its due course of time, without fully following the order. Then what happens when we are impatient, when we don't want to be fully trained up, and when we don't want to fully hear the instructions, then we start changing something in the system every time. We think, oh, by changing this system, by changing that system, by doing this trick, by doing that trick, everything will manifest. No. There is something which is inside, there is a problem. If that inside is transformed, everything becomes so well manifested. So we have to look at Srila Prabhupada's example of how when he did his service to his spiritual master without any personal ambition, as desired by his spiritual master, how things manifested so nicely. So this is one important thing as we do services. We all have to be careful and be observant to see, are we doing what Prabhupada wants firstly? And are we doing the way he wants? And am I trying to be the center of that fulfilling desire? Or is it that I want the desire to be succeeding, that desire of Prabhupada to be fulfilled, than me being present? So sometimes it is important for that fulfillment of the desire, sometimes we should not be present there. Very simple, not to be present somewhere. It will become successful. Sometimes we may think, why is it not becoming successful? Simply because I am present sometimes. Because I am thinking through me only the desire should be fulfilled. It could be Prabhupada's desire. But we should be observant. Is it necessary for me to be only present? In fact, Prabhupada, in a couple of places, he says, now I want to give this management to all my disciples and I want to retire and write books. See, Prabhupada was not after power. He was not after getting name, fame, that, oh, I'm doing all these things. No, he was willing to give that name, fame, whatever is required, the power to his disciples. Otherwise, if Prabhupada wouldn't have taken a backstage at various points, allowing his disciples sometimes to lecture while Prabhupada is sitting in the class, Prabhupada can say, no, I'm pure devotee of the Lord. I'm the Acharya. I will only speak. Or I will only rule. I will only manage. I will only do everything. Prabhupada was encouraging like a Pitravat, like a father, to enable his children also do well. Similarly, we should also carry that broad-mindedness in our heart when we are doing service. How do we encourage others? So that the service grows well, so that it is not only me. If I am not there, the service will not happen. Prabhupada is so genius that he could train people from the Western world in a way and encourage them in such a way that even after Prabhupada leaves, the movement continues. And Prabhupada knew that not everyone can take it up the same way, but at least we can see some devotees who are doing Ratha Yatras, just single devotee leading, and year after year, year after year, year after year, taking all the equipments to all the parts of the US and appearing like, each temple is doing such big thing. One devotee is carrying everything and making it look so big. Similarly, there's so many dedicated disciples of Prabhupada who are so inspired by Prabhupada's example of how to lead, how to serve. So there are very nice instructions in this purport by Srila Prabhupada, and one important thing that the leader must not have personal ambition or must be free from sense gratification, and that's very easily possible by becoming a good devotee of the Lord. We'll stop here and see if there are any questions or comments. We'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you.